Hey YouTube! The final video for tonight. It's been a long adventure. We've gone from the Bible to the Quran, back to the Bible, back to Christianity, back to Islam, and now we're going to finish this up with the response to Does the New Testament abrogate the Old Testament? Today's video, once again. He mentions the Sermon on the Mount. I think it's kind of hilarious because he mentions the Sermon on the Mount and he says that, that everything that Jesus did, the 300 prophecies, which can easily be refuted if you read them in the context and you know the context, that Jesus came, he started the new covenant, the old was destroyed. However, and then he goes on to say the Old Testament only was supposed to last for a certain period of time, and then it was over. We don't, Christians today don't need to go back to the Old Testament to know how to live our lives and things of that nature. He says that we don't need to sacrifice animals anymore because Jesus Christ came. Again, he didn't say this, but I'm putting it in the context in which he presented it. Jesus came, so, this book is no longer relevant. This book is. This is my NIV New Testament. This book is relevant. This is irrelevant because Jesus came. And so, therefore, we don't need to sacrifice anymore because Jesus came. We don't need to circumcise anymore because Jesus came, and we don't need to eat. We can eat pork now because Jesus came. But wait a minute. There's a couple problems with this. One, people don't sacrifice anymore, as I've explained in my other video, because the temple was destroyed in 70 AD. It has nothing to do with Jesus arriving. People still circumcise. In fact, circumcision is a very popular thing now amongst Gentiles, and it's not just Jews. So Jay's wrong on that. And Jews and Muslims don't eat pork. So, yeah. And then, you say that Muhammad's wrong because Jesus didn't mention anything either. Well, I know you don't like it. You've expressed in many of your videos you don't like it when Muslims go through your scriptures and try and find where Muhammad's mentioned or where there's an allusion to Muhammad. Well, you mentioned the Gospel of John where there's two places where Jesus mentions something coming after him. Now, I mention this not because Muhammad. That's Muslims' opinions. That's your opinion that you don't believe in that. That's fine. But you make the statement. I bring this up because you make the statement that Jesus didn't mention anything coming after him. In these two verses, he mentions, I have more to say to you, but you cannot bear to hear it now. Howbeit, when the Spirit of truth comes, he will lead you into all truth. He will speak for me. He. There's 8 times that he mentions he. Someone coming after him was something new. Because Jesus doesn't have time to tell them right now. So, Jay, he did say something was coming after. If you're a Mormon, you believe it's the Book of Mormon. I have it right here. The Book of Mormon. You believe it's that. It all depends on what you believe. But Jesus did say something was coming after him, so you were actually wrong about that, Jay. And then you say the Quran contradicts, Christianity. And I would also argue in my previous video, I'll bring it up again, that Christianity actually contradicts Judaism. So, there you go. Contradicts the theology of Judaism and Islam, if you will. Then you say that Emmanuel, Emmanuel has nothing to do with Yeshua. That verse, as I've mentioned in my other video, chapter 7, verse 14 of Isaiah, has nothing to do with the Messiah at all. His name's not Emmanuel. No one ever called Jesus Emmanuel during his lifetime, according to the Gospels. The angel mentioned this, the writers interpolated that in there into the story. No one, his own mother named him Yeshua, not Emmanuel. Something that you guys need to get straight. And then, the Torah itself says it would last forever. I don't understand why you have this issue. I mean, look at this. There, in Deuteronomy chapter 28 and 29, and chapter 30 verse 2, there's the mention that the Torah is perfect. This is the covenant. This is the law that will last forever for the Jewish people. And it says in chapter 4 verse 2, do not add to the Torah. Do not add to the Torah. It says in chapter 4 verse 2 of the Torah, do not add to God's laws. Mentioning there have been many covenants in the Bible. The whole idea of there have always been new covenants, but not new laws. The Torah has always existed for laws for the Jewish people. So, in Hebrews chapter 8, verse 13, there's the illusion that the law is obsolete, no longer is required, which is false, because the Torah says that's false. But then we have Psalm 19, verse 8 through 9, where David says the Torah is perfect. But then we have Paul twisting things. Paul says in 2 Corinthians chapter 3 verse 6 that the Torah kills. Galatians chapter 3 verse 13, the Torah is a curse. We have Paul slandering that we don't need the law anymore. Well, the Torah says that the law is everlasting, that we'll always need it for God, for the Jewish people. In the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus says, "Do not think I've come to destroy the law of the prophets, I've come to fulfill." It's meaning that he's not here to destroy the law. When someone comes to Jesus and says, "Master, what do I need to do to gain eternal life, to acquire heaven, to enter heaven?" Jesus says, "Keep the commandments." The conversation could have ended right there. But then he goes on to say that, which ones? The man says to Jesus, and he mentions the major ones. And then he says, "Do I lack anything else?" And Jesus says, sell all your possessions, give it to the poor, and come and follow me." So Jesus set up this level of more of faith above faith. But that conversation could have ended right there. Keep the commandments. Okay? You reference the Sermon on the Mount, where Jesus says, "You've heard it said, but I said." Frankly, Jesus, if you actually read the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus isn't technically changing the Torah. He's making it more strict. Divorce, violence, he makes things even more strict. Turn the other cheek. But, the fact of the matter is that Jesus did change some of the ideas that are in the Torah. And that's why the Jewish people don't believe he's the Messiah, because the Messiah wasn't supposed to come and change the law, especially when the Torah itself says you shall not add to the Torah. But you have this fit. You say that the idea that, oh, well, the Quran is an addition, so therefore it's changing. It contradicts the Torah. Well, as I've mentioned before, the Quran actually doesn't change the Jewish religion. The Quran mentions many times that the Jews follow their faith and they need to follow their law. It emphasizes the Jews need to follow their law. If they don't follow their law, then they're not following God. But the Quran does not say that the law must be changed. That's something you understand. The Quranic Jesus doesn't add these new additions that the gospel Jesus does, the Christian Jesus does. Jesus says he preaches the same thing that the other prophets of old, according to the Islamic theology, where they've said there is no God but God, and you should worship him, set no partners with him. So the Quranic Jesus doesn't change anything. We don't even know what the gospel really was, essentially. I mean, we have the gospel according to Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John in the Canaan. We have the other gospels, as I've mentioned in the other videos. But how come there are verses such as Jesus went and he preached the gospel? What gospel was he preaching? Which one was he preaching today? Matthew, Mark, or Luke, or John? We don't even know. Essentially, I mean, these are tidbits of what we think the good news was. But when you say you're following the gospel, which gospel? Choose one. Is it all of them? Which one was he preaching? I mean, we have his parables. We can assume that's part of the gospel. Do we know that for sure? Have you ever asked yourself that question? That's not really my point. My point is that Jesus did bring definitely a newer, updated version of what he thought how people should live their lives. End of discussion. So I think that's pretty much the whole idea here is that the changing that occurs. The Torah is complete and perfect for the Jewish people. They don't need any other revelation, which is why you won't find a lot of Jews converting to Christianity. Sean apparently did. That's his choice. But really, the Torah is perfect for the Jewish people. No Jew would argue that. Thank you very much. This is my last video for the evening. Good luck, and good night.